It's funny talking about the cut and replacing Sammy, because obviously when I found out I was going to get that job, the first thing I wanted to do was call my dad. His dad was always my biggest supporter, but he was also very good about humbling me too. So I knew if I told him I'd be all excited, he'd be like, but Katie, don't forget, Sammy Graham has forgot more than you'll ever know. So, but anyway, I appreciate the chance to get up here with you guys and share a little bit of not just my story, but my dad's as well, and kind of my family's also. But you shouldn't have sat right there, because you're getting me already. Anyway, so people always say, you've got a moment, maybe sometimes more than one, that happens in your life that completely changes, the way the rest of your life looks. For some people, that can be the day you got married, when you had your first kid, or if it's anything like mine, it could also be a death that has changed the course of your life. And for me and my family, that day was December 8th of 2022. I had been on the phone kind of off and on with Mom all morning, and also on a texting group with my sister-in-laws. We were all going to go out to the Trans-Siberian that night. Mom was taking us for our Christmas gift, and so of course we're all talking back and forth and figuring out what it's everybody going to wear, what time are we meeting and all that, and so no big deal. So put my phone down. I think I ran off, just went to the bathroom, came back, and saw I had a missed phone call from Mom. Not a big deal. Called her back. I said, hey, did you call? And she said, yeah, I did. Instantly, I could tell in that moment that something was bad. So she said, you need to come home. I said, why? And she said, no, you need to come home. And I said, no. I said, why? Well, about that time, I hear a guy get on the phone. I said, who am I talking to? And he said, Katie, this is Marty, which also is our pastor, but also our cousin as well. And he said, Katie, we got a call, and your dad's had a massive heart attack, and he didn't make it. For me, I will never forget where I was standing, what I was wearing, and the minutes after that. Now, of course, the days and everything after that are a blur, but in that moment, nothing can prepare you for that. You feel shock, you feel anger, you feel disbelief, and also you feel regret. And I know the two biggest things that I felt for days after that was anger and the regret. And now I know, looking back though, that I didn't have anything to regret. My dad knew how much I loved him, and I knew how much he loved me, but when those things happen, all you can think about is the things you didn't do or the things you didn't say. And for me, it was the week of Thanksgiving. My dad was going down to deer camp and going hunting, and begged me to go. And I didn't go. And that would have been the last one-on-one time I'd had with him. But I was going through some things, and my dad knew that, and knew that, you just do what you need to do. If you want to stay home and hang out with your mom, which, he always said, of course, that's what you always choose to do instead, is hang out with your mother. But, so that's what I did. But I have thought about that time so many times, and I've thought about, did I tell him I loved him enough? Did I call him enough? Did he know how proud I was of him? And eventually, like I said, I know that he did, because I know how proud he was of me too. But also, along with the regret, the other big thing I felt for a while, and probably honestly up until just a few months ago, was anger. Because you want to know why it happens. I'm sure that has affected every person in this room at some point in your life. You want to know why. Why do kids get sick? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why does God allow that to happen whenever, God's in control, right? So it does make you wonder, why then? Why do we have to feel the pain sometimes that we have to feel? And if you're anything like me, it's a while before you figure out why that is. And it took me a long time, but I remember it was a couple of days after we had found out about Dad, and they'd got him back from South Dakota, and we were going up to the funeral home to see him for the first time since getting him back. And I'm sitting there waiting my turn, and Marty, he comes over to me and he asked, he said, "You doing okay?" And I said, "No." I said, "But the other thing that I'm really struggling with Marty is," I said, "I'm so angry." And I said, "And I'm angry with God." And I said, and that really makes me feel conflicted because I said, one, I know where my dad is at. And two, I'm a God-fearing woman myself, but I said, I just can't understand. I said, I just talked to my dad that morning, talked to him the day before. How does it happen that fast? And you want a chance to be able to say goodbye. You want a chance to tell me love him one more time. But Marty told me, he said, Katie, he said, the ways you were feeling are fine because God knows your heart. God knows that it's the love that you felt for your dad and now the pain that you guys are feeling. And we actually talked about Psalm 73:26, and that says, God is the strength of your heart, even if your flesh and heart fail. So just reminding you that God, even when you are angry and you question what he's doing in your life and why, and you don't understand it, he knows that it's not questioning because you don't trust him or that you don't love him, but just that things get hard. And we want answers sometimes. And unfortunately, sometimes there are things that you won't ever get the answers to. The other thing that brought me some peace in those days after, and I think for my family as well, was, we were talking a lot with the guys that he was with. I'm sure many of you know, but he was on an annual pheasant hunt in South Dakota with his buddies. They'd been going on that same trip for years now, and they always stay at the same place. Well, him and his best friend Bill, they always stay down in the basement together, and they get up every morning and they kind of do their devotionals and stuff. And Bill does his thing, and Dad, he always did the Jesus Calling book every day. But Bill shared with us that morning, they got up, they had done their thing and all that, and Bill said, I'll never forget it, and not really ever even understand why, but he goes, your dad looked up at me and he said, Bill, the good Lord's been pretty good to me, and if he decided he was ready for me tomorrow, I'd be fine with it. Not knowing that in just a few hours after that he really would be gone. But how amazing is that, to know that Dad felt that peace? I know if you ask me right now, I got a family and a room full of friends that I know right now I wouldn't be ready to never see again or to leave. But that trust that my dad had of knowing where he was going, knowing the relationship that he had, and just being at peace with that. What a blessing and a gift that is, but that only does come from having your personal relationship with Jesus Christ, knowing that where you will go when your day does come. And not only is that a peace for you, but the peace that also provides for the people that love you and your family, knowing that one day you guys will be together again. Because I know that is the only thing that gets my family and I through some hard days, is knowing that life on earth is short. And everybody, somebody's always told me that for your dad, it's going to feel like that when you guys get there. For us, it feels like an eternity. But how great that is to know that because of God's promise and what God has done for us, that we will all get to be together again someday and be with our loved ones. Now, it's always easy sometimes to get up here and talk about how God worked in your life afterwards and all the good things that he did. And that's true, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I don't think I would be doing you guys any justice if I didn't get up here and talk about the real struggles that I had ever since my dad passed. And, it's death is going to happen. We're all going to die someday, right? But you never expect to have to bury a child, a grandchild. You always kind of expect you'll probably bury your parents someday because they'll get old and have lived a good life, but I wasn't ready for that. And not having kids of my own and not being married yet, the greatest love I've ever known is the love of my parents. So when I've lost one of those, my whole life was turned upside down. Not to mention that's the glue that held our family together. But for me, that also was my day-to-day job as well, because that's how I even got in this industry, was because that's what my dad did. So on the hard days, on the days when I was excited, that's who I called. Or just, hey, I ran into so-and-so. They asked about you, said to tell you hi. And that the way he would light up hearing about that. So that was hard for me. Getting back into that day-to-day life anyway is hard, but when you're faced with it's your personal life, it's your professional life, it's everywhere you go, it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, I always told Mom, I said, it's hard, but it's also such a blessing that because of who Dad was to so many people and how many people he touched, that they do always want to reach out or, share a condolence or ask about him or tell you when they're thinking about him too. That does help. But I got into a pretty dark place with some pretty severe depression. I got very good at masking it because obviously when you kind of work in our industry and your job is to go out and show face and sell, you get good at hiding that, right? But the more you have to hide that, the more I could feel myself dying a little more inside every day because I wasn't dealing with it. Yeah, in my free time, I'd want to spend time with my family and my friends, and that always made me feel better, but that's just a Band-Aid to the real problem. You're just kind of masking that, right? For me, I kind of had to hit that rock bottom of not only not wanting to get out of bed, but I had days when I didn't care if I did at all. And that's a really scary place to be. And when I finally realized the only thing that was going to change that was instead of trying to handle it myself, mask it with things like my family or staying busy, and instead knowing that I've got to look back at my relationship with God and what He has done for me and the blessings that we still continue to have, was when the real healing began. You cannot have real healing with anything you struggle with or go through without having, again, a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and allowing Him to see you through those days that are hard. Because they are hard. We still have hard days. But when you start healing, what you notice is those months start turning into weeks. Weeks turn into days. And then those days turn into moments. And like I said, I still have those moments. And I allow myself to fill in those moments. But then I remember that God is in control. My dad is in a better place, and I will see him again. Because the longer you sit in those moments and you try to handle it with everything on your own and everything you shouldn't handle it with, or whatever the case is, that is the devil continuing to win. Because when you start doing better and you start turning it around, that is when the devil will try to steal, kill, and destroy and make you believe that you cannot do it. And trust me, I had a lot of those days. And like I said, I still have my moments. We still have hard days. But I can bounce back from them. I don't get in this place where I sit there for 3-4 days just not wanting to see anybody, not wanting to talk to anybody, but just having those moments. And like I said, you can have those moments. Allow yourself to feel, because when you can feel in those moments and then come out of them is also the tremendous growth that happens as well. You be able to recognize it and be able to get out of it. The other thing is, obviously, my dad wasn't perfect. None of us are. But my dad, because of who he was and his relationship with God and being a God-fearing man and the example he set for me and my family, that's how we've been able to get through this stuff as well. That example was set and showed to us a long time ago, even before Dad passed. Because I know that without my family and how strong we are as a unit, that was so important to Dad for us, I wouldn't have made it. And I know my mom wouldn't have, and still continues to struggle. I know my brothers wouldn't have. But we got that again because of who my dad was in our lives and the example he set and what he showed us. And that's where I kind of got to in my struggles, is knowing that the things I'm doing and the way I'm feeling, my dad would be like, sis, really? So I knew also, I wasn't doing him I was doing him a disservice and not honoring him the way he'd want to be honored by the way that I was handling my grief and my struggle. And like I said, we're still learning, we're still trying. But there has been, we're finally getting to a place where there is some good that comes out of it. And that's what makes it worth it too. Being able to start things like the foundation that we started in his honor, being able to help people who need it, being able to provide opportunities to maybe kids or even families who may otherwise not have had it. Those things have been a blessing, and that if we would have not eventually been able to come together, find our way, and grow from it, I don't think what otherwise would have happened. And that's the case for all of us, right? I'd like to believe most of the people sitting in this room are probably because we're all God-fearing people, right? We're not getting into heaven because of the money we give, the volunteering we do, just coming to events like this, or just, always acting right when it's convenient or when you're around people, right? It comes from, again, I know I keep hitting on it because it was my dad's greatest desire, and it's the greatest desire for God as well, but without a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, you will not be able to get into heaven or to see your family again. So I challenge you that if the things that do make you proud or do motivate you are the money that you give or the volunteering that you do, I would really challenge you to maybe take a step back and really reevaluate the way that you are, the priorities that you're having in your life. What I will leave you with is enjoy every moment, because you never know when it will be the last. But enjoy every moment. Take every opportunity you have to spend with loved ones, and be present in those moments. Take the time to really be present and to be there. And that was one thing that my dad was always so good about. He was always present. He wasn't just there, but he was present. And that's something I would like to try to continue to give as well myself. But also, tell your loved ones that you love them. I told my dad I loved him every day. But I know what I wouldn't give to be able to tell him one more time. So just think about that when you're around the people that you love, or when you are with people that you care about or whatever. Tell the people you love that you love them. The other one is this: when someone is on your heart, pick up the phone and call or text them. Because you never know if that is God's way of using you to touch somebody else who may be struggling, even when you don't know it. But what a phone call or a text of just, hey, I'm thinking about you, how are things going, or whatever, you never know what a difference that can make for somebody. So when you think about people, let them know. Reach out to them. Because you never know what a difference that can make. The other thing is this, and I will quit hammering on this, but take God's promise and the greatest gift that he's ever given us, which nobody in this room is even worthy of. And that by having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and knowing you will be in heaven when this earthly life is done, that because of that, your family also knows that you all will be together again someday. I know I've touched on that several times, but I don't know that it gets any more important than that. I mean, our life here is short. This isn't what we live for. This isn't the end goal. This isn't what eternity is for us. But with that, I told you, I don't know, Jeff, I told you it'd either be 20 minutes or maybe 13. I don't know, but I don't even know where we're at. But anyway, no, I just thank you guys so much for taking the time. Thank you guys for showing up. I didn't know there were so many people that didn't have anything better to do on a Thursday, but glad you guys could be here instead. But yeah, thank you guys so much for letting me share a little bit of my story and a little bit of my dad's. And I know that I can speak for not only myself, but my family as well, that if by sharing our story and what our struggles have been even brings one person closer to God, then we consider the pain that we feel missing him every day to be worth it. So thank you guys so much. Freaking sweating. Sweating. No, thank you. Thank you.
About 2 months ago, Katie said, okay, I'm ready to talk. There's so much worth of waiting.
Yeah, but how many times in that 2 months I've been trying to back out too?
Hey, can you share about the events of the foundation?
On the foundation? Yeah, so on the foundation, we do have an annual event that we do. It's our sporting clay tournament. That's our big event. We had it last year in the fall, but we are not doing one this year because we're moving it from the fall to the spring. So we are working right now to get that date kind of lined up, but it is going to look to be in April or May sometime of 2025. And again, that'll be our sporting clay shoot. It'll be out at McLeod, kind of same as last year, but it's open to anyone. If you're not a shooter, even if you just want to come hang out, we have some great prizes. We have some great food that gets cooked for us, and it's just a good time to come hang out and be together. And of course, any of the money that we raise goes into the foundation. This year already, because of the money we raised last year, we were able to give out 7 scholarships. We helped 3 families, I believe, at Christmas, but 5 families at Christmas who otherwise the kids would not have been able to have any kind of Christmas at all. And then we were able to help out the parents as well. And then any of those things, if anybody knows of somebody that is struggling, even if it's maybe and we're about to come up into winter soon, right? That's a big thing too, is if you guys know of anybody that they can't even afford to pick up their electric bill or their heat, like the water bill or whatever, let us know, because that's what we want to do. We'd be more than happy to reach out to the utility company, take care of their bill for them, and help out that way. I always say it's not fair to the kids to have to suffer when they don't have any control of it either. So, but yeah, thanks to a large part of a lot of the oil and gas industry, we were able last year, our first year of having the foundation, we did actually end up raising about $150,000. So we cannot do that without you guys. So thank you so much.
Does anyone else have any questions for Katie? What's it like, going around saying there's Sammy replacement? What's that like?
I always say I'm overworked and underpaid.
Oh, God.
having to run around with Papaw.
Well, listen, let me tell you something. God was proud of you. I know Scotty was proud of you. I know you're proud of your daughter standing up here today talking like this. And we prayed before, and there's a great verse in Psalm 29:11 that says, "The Lord gives his people strength, and he blesses them with peace." And I believe he did both those things for you. He did a
Thanks,
beautiful
Jeff.
job sharing that beautiful story.
Thank you.
I think the most important thing I heard today was just this line that she said several times, which is, if you don't know about how to have a personal relationship with Christ so you can have this peace, we'll all be up here afterwards. If you'd like to talk about that, I'd love to talk about that with you. Also, I'd love to make sure we'll send the email out to get people involved for the prayer breakfast. It's going to be a fantastic event this year. I want to thank everybody who helps with that. Bryson, would you close us out in prayer today?
Dear Father God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for Katie. Thank you for the family. Thank you for her story. Man, I just pray we can use that to change others' lives. Man, I just pray you give us all spiritual wisdom and knowledge. And man, please help us impact others and bear fruit and bring others to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Guys, thanks again for coming. Appreciate it. Another meeting here.